Hi, this is Chloe from Inner Whispers, unboxing the Modern Spellcasters Tarot by Melanie Marquis and with illustrations by Scott Murphy. This is a Lo Scarabeo Llewellyn production, and you can see they're kind of doing a nicer job on the packaging these days. So we have this box, but it looks like it's got a sort of magnetic flap. We'll take a look at that in just a second, so let's open it up. So here's the box, and it does have a nice magnetic catch, and inside we don't have a silly little box the way that you used to have with Llewellyn decks so often. Instead, there's a nice ribbon lifting out. You've got your book here in its entirety, and then the deck equally, you can just pick that out. So, and there's, pretty decorations inside the box here, where we've got a bird, a squirrel, a fish, and a wolf, dog, something of the sort. Okay, we'll probably find out more. And here we've got symbols of the different seasons, so summer, winter, spring and autumn within the symbol as well. So that's quite nicely done, and it's got that nice little click. Okay. Let's take a first quick look at the book. On the front we have what I assume is going to be the Emperor to the box's Empress. So this book is aimed at anywhere from a beginner's to a more advanced audience. So we start with an anatomy of a tarot, the tarot deck care and maintenance, yada yada, how to read the cards, using the tarot for magic, so that may be interesting, page 41, the major arcana, the minor arcana, easy tarot spreads, recommended reading, and then we have some poetry at the start, the cup, 5 cups scattered whole and shattered under the moon and craving a star, 6 swords carried, grief so buried, the hermit with his light strides on. So yeah, something that brings, a poem that brings in all the, or many of the cards. So, if we skip through, we have there the anatomy of the tarot, element of earth is pentacles, wands, so they have wands as air and swords as fire in this particular correspondence, which isn't what everyone uses, but then not everyone uses the same thing, so you're never going to have what everyone uses. That isn't what I personally tend to use, but that's fine. Yeah, I can see where they're coming from with that. Then we have things like yin and yang, triquetra, 5-pointed star, so looking at some of the basic symbolism, shall we say. Numerology and the tarot, and then we get into the tarot deck care and maintenance. Charging your deck, solar charge, lunar charge, fire charge, earth charge, air charge, water charge, and this is basically just sort of elemental magic a little bit. Then we have cleansing the deck and heavy duty deep cleaning, talking about things like using hematite and a quick cleaning deck clearing method, or several of them. How to read the cards, trust yourself, step by step. So this is advice on how to actually run a reading with someone else. Developing your own tarot interpretation, always a good thing. Developing your skills as a reader, and then we come to the section on using the tarot for magic. Interesting. So just as each stone or sprig of herb has its own unique energies and magical attributes, so too do the cards of the tarot sing out in a chorus of voices. Its images representing a full range of emotions, concepts, archetypes and energies. The tarot is a very versatile, easy to use and effective medium for magic. Well, can't disagree with that. And the suggestion here is that it's imitative magic on the as above so below principle. By imitating outwardly with the tarot cards what you wish to happen, the inner threads of reality are trained into a better position, more conducive to the manifestation of your intention. Then we talk about tarot talismans. Reversing a card, turning a card face down, tarot for magical substitution, covering a card with another card, moving cards away or toward, and a sample tarot spell for good luck and success to show you what they mean by that. A sample tarot spell for protection, healing, or banishing negativity. I like the way that they sort of say it's sample. You can use these cards or not use these cards. That makes sense to me. Circle casting with the tarot, and then we're on to the descriptions of the cards. And we have a nice grayscale of each card, a description, a divinatory meaning, and reversed, and magical uses. Okay, so that's quite nice. Same for the other cards. And interesting, so I can't wait to look into the actual cards. Let's have a look at the minors. Same kind of thing. Description, grayscale card, reversed, and magical use. So not quite as detailed, but the same basic approach. The section on tarot spreads. We have past, present, future, one card draws, Celtic cross variation, comparing and contrasting spread, 4-card spread for problem solving, a lover's spread, and suggestions on creating your own tarot spread. And that's it. So it has some good information. Yeah, overall a decent little book, and I quite like the brief sections on magical use for each card, so we'll have a look at those. I will have a look at those later on as I start to use the deck for sure. So let's go through these cards. As the book says, oh, I really like this with the sun and the moon already straight away. That gives a slightly different feel to the Fool. And the cards are very colourful, they're borderless, very subtle little title bit at the bottom with a kind of combination of a sword hilt or a moon. There. The Magician with a funny little lightning symbol above him instead of the lemniscus, and a snake shedding its skin, so lots of interesting bits and bobs there. The High Priestess, very unusual and different. She has no face. Oh, just a black. So that's fascinating. The Empress is green, which goes with the idea of earth. And that's one thing that I quite like about this. We have very stark colours. Ah, interesting. Okay, so this is the Emperor. And while the Empress has a cow and then a female figure, the Emperor just goes straight for a horned god figure with a bull by his side. So very anthropomorphic, very forceful. I like the acorn as part of his staff. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. And yes, I like the people who are these strange colours. It really highlights how much this is archetypal. It has a slight feel of like the World Spirit Tarot, which is quite an old deck. Many people may not have it, but it's a lovely one. And I quite like that it makes it more obvious that this is an elemental symbolic description, shall we say. Very interesting, the Hierophant. In some ways, I don't know, is this a negative depiction? We have the green and the red. They seem almost, well, he's got a devil's tail. She's holding the moon. He has a whip as well as a book and a square for a face, a white square for a face. So very, very unusual. Hand fasting for the lovers. Oh, the Chariot is carrying a lotus, so the awakening of consciousness. That's beautiful, quite different. This is more different from the RWS than I was expecting, which in many ways is quite a nice change, I have to say. And equally here, on the Strength card, she's got very pale skin, very red hair, making this a far more archetypal kind of image, rather than having an everyday feel to it. And we have another snake here, so we've got quite a lot of those going on. It looks like a snake and a frog side by side, and another frog and a snake, and lots of them jumping into a fire. So I shall be interested to read in the book what that is about, shall we say. Then we have the Hermit, quite traditional in many ways. The Wheel of Fortune. In the corners we have symbols of the seasons, bringing in that pagan, elemental, seasonal feel to it, with spring, summer, autumn, winter. And quite a forceful justice. And she has a wheel floating above her head, the Wheel of the Year. Oh, the Hanged Man, that's interesting. Kind of a figure inside a coffin, inside a straitjacket almost, or it has a straitjacket feel, I guess, mummified, or a shroud. And then the dark and the light on either side of the tree from which this figure is hanging. So some real interesting touches. Death is more skeletal and fierce than in many that we see these days. Less of the death isn't death. Here, death really is quite spooky and scary. Messenger field to Temperance with the healing staff symbol and the winged helmet and wings. So Hermes Trismegistus, I would say. And these are irises. Connection to the rainbow path. Oh, and the devil is pretty fierce too. Really suggesting this evil shadows and the debauchery, the negativity, the shadow inside us. So it's not a happy, clappy, love and light deck in that regard. There are quite creepy cards to it. The Tower with a bell ringing at the top, and those who are getting out at the bottom face this attack as well. So a real fierceness to this once again. Gorgeous star card, definite feeling of guidance and hope there. And the wolf and the very obviously more tame little dog, very differentiated between them rather than being almost the same size. It shows the real wildness and the strength of the wolf. And what does the little dog bring to us? And the moon shining very brightly, and the triple phases. So yes, interesting. And this is a very sweet version of the sun, weaving the threads of life together perhaps. And we have two little children, though they seem different ages rather than the same, and a woman, so quite unusual once again. It's definitely not, while it's very clearly RWS based, it's not just same old, same old. Here's more of a phoenix rising from the cauldron of life. And I like this world dancer, once again very seasonal. Into the cups, very fascinating perspective. We see the fish here under the water, and wow, there's stuff flowing down on us. It looks a little bit scary almost. It's a very different kind of Ace of Cups. clearly two men in the Two of Cups, in a very sharing. Is this a hand fasting? It could be. They're sort of also the aspects of one another with clothes that echo, so the grey robe with grey cummerbund and the sort of red robe cummerbund swapping out and seeing into the earth. So we're seeing what's underneath in all of these as well. The different elements, I guess. And here, I generally like to have three women in my Three of Cups, but I can see that this has a different perspective to it, very much so. And there's the three fish, the sharing of wisdom. Yeah, interesting stuff going on. The Four of Cups is more meditative feeling than is often the case. And the Five of Cups, he's actually holding the two still full cups, which is quite different too. And it almost looks as though these were spilt for a reason, perhaps. There's a little fish. Six of Cups, nicely done. And the Seven of Cups, with astrological symbols floating above the cups instead of anything else. And we have a turtle down here. So in all of these, the genie rising up from the Nine of Cups, the Make-A-Wish. And here we have the balance of the four elements, perhaps, rather than just two. This is wider sense of family. Magical family, elemental family. And there's the turtle again. So it's nice the way that some of these symbols play through, like here we had the little fish again, which has appeared in many of the Cups cards, and the turtle, which also appears in many. So seeing where these elements come up in a reading could create interesting links between the cards within a reading. The Page of Cups, a little strange to have three figures. And the Knight of Cups, riding a fish and yet still very much in his armour. The Queen of Cups with, wow, a huge pouring waterfall behind her, and yet she's just daintily dipping a toe in front of her. Nicely done. And the King of Cups has both feet in the water, which is interesting, but he doesn't have the fierce waterfall power behind him. He has dolphins. Ace of Pentacles, I always love when there's a squirrel about. The Two of Pentacles. Interesting that we have a dog with a bag here, bringing in something different. And he's not standing on a firm surface, he's standing on a tree trunk as he's doing this balancing act. So, Three of Pentacles, there's more of a learning side to it, and there's the squirrel again. Equally with the Four of Pentacles, and there's a hoarding treasure idea. Five of Pentacles, being chased away from a little hobbit home. Six of Pentacles, what is it they're getting? It seems like food rather than money, food and drink. Seven of Pentacles, watering a plant. Eight of Pentacles, creating a home for a dog, but there's also wealth stored in there. Nine of Pentacles, the little squirrel has a hood on rather than a bird with a hood. That's quite, yeah, okay. And Ten of Pentacles, the idea of legacy, nicely done there. Page of Pentacles, rather clearer than the Page of Cups. Knight of Pentacles riding a huge squirrel. Queen of Pentacles. And the King of Pentacles. A pan-like figure with bags of coins. Into the wands. So yes, wands are associated with air, so this wand is coming up out of the sky and with birds on it. Two of Wands, another little bird, the messages. Three of Wands with a great big hawk, sending it off into the world. What messages and action do you take? Four of Wands, we have another hand fasting to complement the Two of Cups, and this time with two women. Five of Wands, they're striking at a beehive with blindfolds on. Seems like a pretty daft thing to do, but hey. Six of Wands, powerful figure there. A definite magical feel to it. And Seven of Wands, less obviously fighting anything off. This figure has got her feet on, his feet, on Seven Wands. So it's almost like the battle's already been won. Quite different. Eight of Wand messages with a bird and a flag, and the traditional flying ones, but they're pointing up rather than down, which is always an interesting point within the Eight of Wands. And the Nine of Wands, very defensive, and a 9-pointed star. And Ten of Wands, he looks like he's making a mess of that. He's already dropped a couple of wands since he took it out of the cart. Why would you take it out of the cart? Yeah. So, yes, and definitely blocking his own vision. It's a very much blocked and clumsy Ten of Wands compared to some where it's more, yeah, responsibility that you're shouldering well. I like the way this Page of Wands is listening to the message of the birds above. And the Knight of Wands flying on a hawk. The Queen of Wands, or very autumnal. And the King of Wands, who is actually the figure on the book. And the Ace of Swords, very clear fire element here with this kind of, looks almost like a fire wolf jumping over it. The Two of Swords. The Three with a very anatomical heart. The Four of Swords, interesting. There's a little flame inside his shoe that he's taken off. So, almost more a magical trance meditation moment of waiting and preparation. The Five of Swords, holding up bay wolves, or Six of Swords. Interesting, she's carrying a box as well as the swords that she's taking with her. The Seven of Swords, he seems to be on his own rather than sneaking away from an encampment, except for these wolves lying there. Eight of Swords, a male figure, and bound far more tightly than is sometimes the case, and with fire burning in the background, and this kind of bullock, steer. Nine of Swords has a distinct head in hands, sorrow, not sure what's going on kind of feel to it. And Ten of Swords, splattered and being sniffed at by predators. Page of Swords looks rather pleased with himself. That's a ridiculously big sword. The Knight of Swords riding a bull with its horns tipped in armour. Queen of Swords with a dark bull, quite fierce. And the King of Swords with a golden sword. I rather like him, I have to say. So, some quite interesting cards there. The back is non-reversible. It's a blue colour, and it's the same design that was on the inside of the box with the bird, the squirrel, the fish and the dog. So spring, summer, autumn, winter, that way around. And quite nice little borders in the same kind of colour. It's kind of in between gold and copper. That's quite nice. The deck is easy to hold. The whole thing, that's good. I like that. And it shuffles smoothly. It has a quite matte feel to it rather than feeling slick. Shuffles very easily. A crispness to it, shall we say. And let's do a little riffle. Yeah, that riffles very easily and nicely. So I'm really liking the quality of the cardstock here. That's, for me, a very, very usable, easy to handle deck. And let's take a message. Ah, my old friend the Tower. What needs to fall? Yes, we're in a bit of a Tower moment at the moment, it has to be said. What change is needed? What needs rebuilding? Are your foundations as solid as you think they are? Hopefully, we will rebuild more flexibly, more adaptably, more durably. Blessed be.